Imagine that you are a child today. Imagine 8 other children just like you. Today, one of you must learn to sleep hungry. This is true for 1 out of every 9 children globally. 800 million people, just like you. Imagine the stigma, isolation and shame that your mother feels because she couldn't feed you. The abuse she may suffer or the price she may pay to earn enough to bring you food. This is what hunger really means. Loss of life, loss of opportunity, and loss of dignity. In today's world, hunger and the suffering it brings is unacceptable and avoidable. We believe that eradicating hunger is not just the right thing to do, it's also the smart thing to do. Because apart from the suffering, hunger and undernutrition also stunt the economic growth of entire nations. All members of the United Nations have agreed to set a goal of zero hunger, because a world without hunger is essential for sustainable development. Progress will depend on sharing ideas and working together. India's path to strengthening food security offers some useful lessons. Like many countries, India still has some distance to cover to completely eradicate hunger and undernutrition. But it has taken a few important steps in this direction, including the passing of a new law, the National Food Security Act. We believe that other countries can draw many useful lessons from the process that led to this new law. The debates that took place over many years and as different stakeholders worked to agree on a policy approach. This is why we have come together as partners to share lessons from India's journey so far with other countries that are in the process of addressing hunger and malnutrition. This sharing of knowledge is the idea behind the global dialogues on food security. These dialogues focus on a summary of prevailing debates in India, using this as a resource and a reference point to stimulate discussions around alternative approaches. They aim to foster ongoing knowledge partnerships between India and other countries who are seeking to strengthen their national policies. The sharing of knowledge and expertise will inspire ideas on the way to food security for all.
It might sound a bit ambitious, but then I think bringing it to the open and then looking at experiences of other countries such as India and Brazil, you realize that it is not an idealistic thought at all. This is something that is achievable. This is something that civil society organizations in partnership with governance institutions on the continent can work to obtain. So I think beginning with this discussion here in Mali is very important for the way forward.
We shared common problems and we listened to the Indian case and the Brazil case, which in themselves are unique to have helped in alleviating hunger and malnutrition in the world. If India could do it, any other country could do it. It's just a matter of citizens making more and more demands on their government and government ready to listen to their pleas and cries of their people. A world without hunger is possible.
We see the poverty is increasing, food insecurity is increasing. Keeping in mind, we still have those examples from India and Brazil. All the countries can take support from those initiatives and build their own local strategies.
It is our moral duty to ensure that we address the issues of hunger, which affect our children every day, and we see it, but we only rally when it comes into the eye of the nation. But every day we have children living in hunger who are malnourished. How do we ensure that this one is something which it can be done? It can start right from the village where we come from. So it is a conversation we should have started a long time ago. So it is a problem which we really need to urgently address. The Indian experience shows that civil society and communities are organized. Organized communities can bring change. That is what I have learned. It means that with the collective citizens' participation, we can actually bring change. If citizens are focused, citizens can demand for change. So it means that how do we become organized? How do communities speak in one voice? That voice can bring the changes that we require. Our disorganized voices is what is ensuring that this continues. But organized voice, organized communities, and organized agenda will ensure that we bring the change which we require.
The UK Department for International Development is committed to tackling global poverty, and we're always looking for new ways to do that with greater impact. But one of the areas that we're taking a particularly close look is on the issue of food and nutrition security. And in particular, we're working with India because India recently passed a National Food Security Act, and that was quite a landmark decision, and we think that that's a useful and interesting thing for other developing countries to learn from, because it's always useful to see what another country has done, to compare and contrast their approach. So we're not saying India has all the answers, but we are saying that to learn together with somebody else may help you to get there better and quicker than if you go alone.
This was in many ways really a global dialogue, because we were sharing the experience of one country in Asia, one large country in Asia, and another large country in Latin America, with a number of smaller countries in West Africa. I think that hunger today in the world is completely preventable, that the correct set of policies and programs in any country can ensure that that hunger is eradicated. Reflecting on the processes, on the debates, hoping that somewhere some light bulb lights up in people's hearts and minds, and it helps illuminate pathways specific in each country by which they can bring the day closer when no parent, no mother, no father has to teach their child that most terrible of lessons, the lesson of how to sleep hungry.